Comic fam, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm here at the table with one of my best friends, Ryan.
Hola.
Fire Guy Ryan.
Tis I, the fire guy.
We talk about comics every week. Hit the subscribe button. We actually attempt to put this show out every Sunday. It's looking like it's going to be a Monday release.
Might just change the day, I think. Might be the most reliable plan moving forward. It's a Monday show.
We try to get it out on Sunday for you, but so far it's been Mondays. So it may come out on Mondays, but we do appreciate you for being here.
Surprise is so fun.
We got a packed show today. We're talking about superhero theme songs. We're talking about, foreign comic books. We made a mistake. Bleeding Cool made a mistake. Wait, what's going on? We'll cover it. We have an Into the Spider-Verse teaser trailer. We got your comments. We got one of the coolest comic books that have come out in the last, year. Silver Surfer 5 Black. Dani Cates just killed it. We got to talk about that. But before we go on, let's just kick the show off with the first thing. All right, let's go over topic number 1 right here, right now. We have Spider-Man getting a new theme song. What's going on, Ryan?
A new theme song?
That's right. I mean, everyone knows the Spider-Man theme song.
Yes.
Ryan, do you want to sing the Spider-Man theme song?
Would I?
Would you? Would you like to?
Would I like to?
Well, okay.
Oh, man, I would love to.
Okay, so here, there's 2 different theme songs. We're talking about Double Trouble. Okay, this is a Marvel kids comic book that's coming out. Surprising, it's not being put out by IDW.
They're usually the ones that put out like the Spider-Man Adventures or like some other adventures comics.
for the kids.
But the kids comics that I don't read.
But Marvel is doing this one, and it's Spider-Man and Venom, Double Trouble. Now, what's cool is the very first page, we have a couple different pages of the solicit. The first page is the Spider-Man theme song. Ryan, please take over.
Spider-Man. These aren't even the accurate lyrics. Does all the cool things a spider can.
Yeah, because this is a new song.
Right. He's making he's doing like a remix.
That's right.
Action hero, awesome dude, saving lives, never rude. Look out, there goes the Spider-Man.
Heck yeah. Okay, and then now I'm going to try to do the Venom one because the next page is Venom. This is the first time Venom has gotten a theme song, to my knowledge. All right, it says here, meanwhile, on the other side of town.
He looks so cute.
He does look cute.
Look at him.
All right, let's see if we can do this. Venom does all the things a symbiote alien that has merged with a human form can. Almost rhymes. He's an alien. He's super rude. He's a villain and an overall bad dude. And look out. Like really.
Bordering on unpleasant. The worst part is that he's stealing the kids' ice cream and eating ice cream.
Really bordering on unpleasant. It doesn't really rhyme. It doesn't really flow very well, but it is there. So I thought, okay, it's got me thinking about theme songs and just those memorable cartoons of the past and some that are a little bit more recent. And I wanted to test you, Ryan. I have 6 songs here, and I guess this is a test for the community as well. If you recognize these songs, I want to know how many you get right. Uh-oh. All right, let's see, honesty here. Mm-hmm. So Ryan, I have 6 different songs that I have put together for you, and I have cut them so it's a little bit more difficult to guess, and I've made them increasingly more difficult.
Oh, thank you.
That's the goal. So, are you ready for this, Ryan? You can only hear it once. I'm only going to play this once. I don't want you to like jog your memory.
You can't play it like 10 times for me? Just to, no.
No. One time. Community, you get one time. Let's see which ones that Fire Guy Ryan remembers.
Also, by the way, I'm not a good actor, so this is 100% the truth. I have not heard this stuff yet.
I put these in a folder that said, Ryan, do not look.
I really wanted to look. I saw that in there. I was like,
I got the answers.
There's answers? I could have got answers?
You could have got answers.
I did not look. I was being a good little kid and I didn't look.
Okay, let's see what you can figure out here. Ready?
Go.
All right, song number 1.
Let's try it.
Come on. This is easy. This is the first one, Ryan.
That's it?
That's it.
That sounds like every superhero movie ever.
How do you not know that one? Ryan.
Avengers?
Which one, though?
There's multiple? I thought there was only one Avengers song. That's not even the Avengers song. It sounds Avengers-y.
I'll give you, halfway there. It is Avengers, but which movie?
It's a specific Avengers film?
It is.
That's frustrating.
Or at least the first time you heard it.
The first movie.
The first Avengers movie. Did you get it right? Let us know in the comment section below.
Hopefully the comic fam got that one right, because if that's the easiest one, I'm
There's
scared.
people going, how do you not know this, Ryan?
I was expecting to hear the song I was used to hearing.
Okay, let's go for the next one. Come on, Ryan. Brian, come on. These are classic songs.
I know this is from a 90s cartoon.
How do you know it's from a 90s cartoon?
It sounds so 90s.
What about that sounded 90s to you? I didn't hear 90s out of that. But I will give you a hint. It came out in 1994.
Oh, Amazing Spider-Man.
No. Iron Man from 1994.
I was going to say, because whatever that is, I have not seen it. Because I know the Spider-Man song, I know the X-Men song, I know the Batman song, and I guess those are the only cartoons I watched as a kid.
Okay. Well, we're going to keep it going. He's 1 for 2.
Barely.
And barely 1 for
like
2.
half
How are you doing, Comic Fam? All right, let's see the next one.
Better than...
Are you going to get number 3? We're going to find out right now.
Let's go. Oh, that's Iron Man. Okay.
Iron Man.
Why do I know that?
Because it's Iron Man and you know Iron Man. Well done, sir. It's a good one.
You know what? They really need to
Up it.
change something with superhero soundtracks. They all sound the same, especially when you just listen to them like a blind Pepsi challenge like this.
I think you're doing pretty good. I thought I was going to stump you with the third because I put Iron Man next to Iron Man. I thought I was going to trick you there. See, it's getting a little bit harder, Comic Fam. All right.
None of these are John Williams.
You're 2 for 3. All right. Here's the next one. Coming in strong, number 4.
That sounds like John Williams. Oh, that's Superman.
Superman.
I only know this because I just watched this movie
done.
less than a year ago.
Well done, sir. I was worried you weren't going to get that. Superman from 1978. And I had to cut that one a little bit. I made it a little bit more difficult for you to guess.
Because that's before the...
It's before the hook.
Yes.
All right. So here's another. All right.
Thank you.
The
Music
hook, right?
terms.
Okay. So now we're going on to number 5. All right.
right.
You're doing... Dude, I'm proud of you.
You said this is the hardest one, so I'm just expecting
This
like
is one of
one drawn out single note or something really vague.
You ready?
Go.
In your satin tights, fighting for your rights, and the old red, white, and blue.
G.I. Joe?
Satin tights.
Yeah, I didn't hear that part. I heard red, white, and blue. Maybe they have satin tights. What? You know?
Your satin tights.
I never watched G.I. Joe or played with them.
Okay, Ryan, here's a problem. You just
think-
said G.I. Joe.
I think the G.I. Joes wore tights for their military, advantages that
Ryan.
tights give you over the, the people who weren't wearing tights on the battlefield.
Wow.
Why do all the superheroes wear tights?
Okay. Let's break this down.
See?
Satin tights, red, white, and blue.
G.I. Joe. Boom.
Oh my
Case
goodness.
closed.
All right. So we got that one's rough. I don't know how you don't know that one.
That's way
That's
too old.
Wonder Woman 1977, dude. How do you not know that song?
I don't. Never saw it. Linda
Oh
Carter?
my gosh. All right. I got to know.
Never saw
I
it.
got to know who knows this one. All right. Here's the next one. This is, I think, the hardest one. You ready?
Oh, that wasn't number 5?
No, that was number 5, but we have 6.
Oh, there's 6. Okay, I thought this was a
Oh,
5.
I got it. No.
Man, I
This
thought it
is
was
one of 6. I thought 6 was a good
Oh,
number.
God. Okay. Yep. Let's do it.
Last one. See if you can get this one, Ryan. This is a hard one.
That was it?
That was all you needed.
Uh,
Come on. They're screaming. Ryan. Got 5,
I know what it's not.
4, 3, 2. Say a superhero. Go.
Fantastic Four.
Fantastic. They're screaming. The Hulk from 1996. Comic Fam, how did you
What
do?
even is the Hulk from 1996? Was there a cartoon?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Oh my goodness.
hate
Comic
Hulk,
Fam,
though.
how did you do? We want to hear from you. Put your answers in the comment section below how you did. Ryan, you did pretty good. Yeah. More than half right.
I need to watch old cartoons, apparently.
Was that right? More than half right?
I don't know.
No, I think you got half right.
I'm pretty sure I got less than half.
You got Avengers, you got Iron Man from 2008, and you also got Superman. So that's 3 of 6. So 50%. Did you beat Ryan?
That is an F. That is a
Ah.
solid F. That is a low F.
Okay, this show that we
F.
produce every single weekend, really all of our content, we're sponsored by Key Collector Comics, the best comic book app that exists on the market. And if you use code TOM101, you just go to the home screen, look for the logo, you put the code in, you get a free week subscription, and it unlocks everything. But the app itself is free, and there's a ton of services on there and information for you to use on your hunting and your collecting that's going to be valuable. So I want to get into the next topic of the show because we are chatting about HBO, and we're talking about HBO Max adapting DC titles. Last week, I talked with Jeff when this news broke, and the announcement was 2 different series:
Right.
Green Lantern inspired show,
Yes.
and then Strange Adventures,
Right. An anthology.
an anthology series. So
Correct.
I mentioned to Jeff, it sounded like, I don't know if this is going to happen. They say inspired show. And
that has me really worried.
that has Jeff worried. It has me worried. It also has Nick over at Key Collector worried. We're not sure what that means.
That one word gives them so much wiggle room to just make something based off Green Lantern. They could make a completely different thing. And it's inspired by Green Lantern, so it doesn't even need to really be Green Lantern.
The examples I gave was Watchmen. That's happening right now, which is like it's inspired by Watchmen. It's a sequel, but it's like it's new. You know, it's a totally different show. And
It's really good, by the way. Watch it if you.
we're talking about it on the show. No worries. We're gonna get to that later on.
I can't not talk about that.
Oh, it's too good to pass up. But when we discussed it, the first thing we said is we got to bring this attention to you, Ryan, because I want to hear your thoughts, because there have been a couple books that have really blown up on spec radar, and they're tied to two different series that are very respected in Green Lantern canon. And you know I'm talking about Emerald Twilight.
There you go.
All right. If you go into Key Collector, there is a Green Lantern category.
Can't miss it.
Can't miss it. And the first book that I want to chat about is Green Lantern 48. Green Lantern 48 is the first appearance of Kyle Rayner. All right. There was a 216% increase in copies sold in a week last week. Now, we're talking about Twilight.
Emerald Twilight.
Emerald Twilight.
Different Twilight.
Different, not Robert Pattinson Twilight.
No.
No, we're talking about Twilight. So this is the first one people are specking on. Why are people specking on it? What are your thoughts about that book?
They're specking on it because it's the first appearance of Kyle Rayner. And Kyle Rayner kind of came on the scene right after Emerald Twilight, which is a storyline where Hal Jordan kind of loses his mind and just murders all the Green Lanterns.
He goes like on a it's the Rampage trio where like the middle is him collecting all the rings. It's that classic.
That's
he's
one of my
like,
favorite covers
He's
ever.
losing his mind. He's like, I need all the rings. I'm gonna kill everybody.
Bling bling.
Yeah.
He loses his mind. He kills everyone. And then one of the guardians of the universe, the people who are in charge of the Green Lanterns, they kind of give the last Green Lantern ring to this guy, Kyle Rayner, on Earth. And he just becomes the only Green Lantern for a good long while, actually, like most of the 90s.
He gets that basketball Dwight-looking mask, you know, from season 1.
Big plastic. Yeah,
It's rough.
exactly. I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm not a fan of Kyle Rayner, so I'm personally not excited by the possibility of them focusing on him and this storyline, I guess, for the start of this TV show. Because
People are buying this book out, man. They're thinking that this may be it because it's a big story. But what are your thoughts about this particular story being adapted? Can you see an inspired version of this?
I don't think they should start with this storyline. This seems like something maybe you would build up to. I personally don't see how you can do a Green Lantern story without Hal Jordan, at least to start with. I think you can build up to other Green Lanterns. Maybe Jon Stewart instead of Hal Jordan. He was in the Justice League cartoon, so there's a lot of people are kind of familiar with him.
Right.
But any Green Lantern project is really going to have to work double time to kind of overcome the 2011 movie with Ryan Reynolds that tanked and just ruined Green Lantern in the eyes of a lot of people for a very long time.
I know, right?
It's the first hurdle they're going to have to overcome. You know that they're like, all right, we got to do something cool. Now there are some big stories here that could be good to see on screen, but seeing multiple Green Lanterns,
Emerald Twilight is too much.
That's
way too big, and
It's a lot.
you can't make Emerald Twilight without Hal Jordan.
unless you're going to go like the Khaleesi route and just have him go bad in too short of amount of time to set up another protagonist. I mean, he becomes a villain by the end of the series.
No one should be looking at the last season of Game of Thrones for inspiration on how to do anything, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, I don't think Parallax is going to be the answer to make people watch HBO Max
No.
or get into Green Lantern. So yeah, that's a soft spec, but people are putting money against it.
I'd like to see them build up to that, and I would
they're
be
out
cool
there.
with Kyle Rayner being in the mix.
Okay, well
But
let's
not yet, not as a lead.
let's take a look at another book though. Green Lantern 29. What's going on with that?
That's the first appearance of Black Hand.
Okay.
He's one of my, I would say he's my favorite Green Lantern villain, but Sinestro, he's probably like my favorite DC character of all, I think. So maybe Sinestro doesn't count. Black Hand is a really cool villain in the Green Lantern universe. He is kind of the main villain of the Blackest Night storyline that came out in like 2008.
And that is looked at as one of the best Green Lantern stories ever.
Right.
But why would that be difficult to adapt? Besides, like everybody and their mom is in it, and they all turn to zombies, and Batman's dead.
Pick the reason. There's
Yeah.
a billion reasons why I personally think you should not do Blackest Night, at least not to start with. The biggest one being the amount of different concepts there are in that storyline. Not only do you have to understand who the Green Lanterns are, but you need to know about the Red Lanterns and the Sinestro Corps and the Blue Lanterns and the Indigo Lanterns and all this other nonsense that comes in throughout the Jeff Johns run. It's a lot to throw at people, especially at the start of a brand new TV show. introducing people to a mythology and a comic book character that most people aren't familiar with.
Okay, and that Green Lantern 29 first appearance of Black Hand, we're seeing a 700 percent increase in copies sold in just 7 days for that book. So people are speccing on these runs, this particular key moments from the respected storylines, but it's really early. And as a Green Lantern enthusiast and fan, it looks like a stretch.
I don't think they should start this TV show with either Emerald Twilight or Blackest Night.
Interesting.
Don't think they should do that at all.
Okay.
It might be smarter to look at maybe Secret Origin, Green Lantern Secret Origin, but that's kind of what they supposedly based the film off of back in the day. Loosely, if they had followed that script a lot tighter and followed the comic, I think that would have been a much better movie. Maybe a better TV show.
What do you think, comic fan? Put your answers in the comment section below. Let us know what you think about this Green Lantern news. Are you excited about Strange Adventures? Is Ryan right? Is this like wishful thinking? Are these types of stories just not going to be adaptable? Are they going to go the inspired route? Watchman, Joker status. They're already doing it.
For the record, I would like to see Blackest Night on the screen. I would very much like to see that. I just don't think you should start with that. That's a bad idea. That'd be like starting Game of Thrones with season 8 and being like, okay, boom, here's how it's going on. This is way too much to throw at you at the beginning of a show.
You know what's a bad idea? Sometimes when you sell books that are worth money and you regret it and it was a bad idea, you're like, oh shoot, I wish I didn't do that. And I want to cover my biggest mistake in selling in the last decade on the after show today. We record an after show after the cameras shut off. And if you want to consume our post show audio only, it's available on SoundCloud, Spotify, Stitcher, and iTunes. We're also going to be talking about something else.
We're talking about Basketful Heads in the after show.
Joe Hill's House. Can I borrow that actually? Because I need to read it.
Yes.
We're talking about something in this comic book, but we're going to get to it in the after show. So stay tuned. And something fun that I just found out is that in the back of this, we find out that there is a comic book that's going to be coming out soon that has an artist that we're pretty familiar with.
Yeah, the one of the upcoming comics in the Hill House line that Joe Hill is spearheading is called Lolo Woods. It's going to be illustrated by Dani.
And Dani, who also did Coffin Bound, is doing our Undiscovered Country exclusive. That's right. And you only got a couple weeks left to join the mystery mail call. The link is in the bio, but everybody gets one Comic Tom exclusive, the Undiscovered Country. Under 1,000 will be available for the community. You got to sign up. Do it now. Reserve your box. And let's jump into topic number 3.
So last time I was here, we talked about Playboy. We
That's
talked
right.
about a porno.
We did.
Spider-Man was in Playboy in Japan.
That's right.
We talked about this Bleeding Cool article that said the first appearance of Spider-Man in Japan was in this Playboy issue number 39, I think.
That's right. Issue number 39. And they quoted a blog post by a Matthew Roybal. This guy knows his foreign comics. He is a major foreign comic collector. I know this because he reached out to me after the show. He said he didn't even reach out to Bleeding Cool. He wanted to get in touch with me. And he said, yo, they misquoted my article. There's no link to the article on Bleeding Cool. They butchered it. I read the article. I don't know how they misread this. Like, I have no idea. It literally says in the article, this is the 8th appearance of Spider-Man in Japan. It like literally says it right there, clear as day.
Uh-oh.
So either they didn't read it or they were just working too quick over there. Regardless, it was an error. This is the 8th appearance of Spider-Man in Japan. But this is kind of a fun thing that happened post the showing of these comics on the mic. Matthew Roybal hit me up after the fact. We had a great conversation. He is now kind of one of our sources for foreign comics now. This is a gentleman who was a senior editor for a foreign magazine. They produced actually published two printed foreign comic collector magazines. They're small, short, but still a nice little piece of information that it's been published. And then they actually did a handful of digital ones before they, kind of slowed down and stopped doing it because life happened. This is a very small group of collectors who care about foreign comics. And we had probably a great hour and a half long conversation about foreign comics that we got to get into.
Let's do it.
Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about is some interesting things. Well, the first time that Spider-Man appeared in a Japanese comic, or at least in a licensed Marvel form, was in the Japanese Playboy comics. Like that is correct. But he appeared in issue number 32 first. Now, Spider-Man was in manga prior to that, but that was non-licensed Marvel properties. That was like their own Spider-Man version, their own stories. I'm talking about licensed Marvel, Romita art in a comic book form in Japan. It was started in issue number 32. But I found out so much other interesting stuff that I just want to kick back to the community, and I want to hear their thoughts, because foreign comics, it's definitely not something that is looked at as a goal for a lot of collectors.
We've had a few here, right? Didn't you have like a Spanish first appearance of Punisher or something that was up on No, I'm thinking of a different comic. I thought you had a foreign language first appearance, the yellow Punisher Spider-Man cover. And
we have in the past.
Okay.
We also have had Captain America 100. That's in the back issue bin. We got like the early McFarlane Spider-Man. That's in, I think, Greek.
I remember looking at it and being like, oh, this is cool, but I can't read it. So I just kind of put it back and kept going.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's typically how most people view it. Like, it's a key moment on a book, and we're in like a kind of a special time right now because people are starting to buy these more often. I just saw Illust Illuminati pick one up and post it on Instagram. He's like, yo, I got a Taskmaster that's foreign and I like the cover, so I picked it up. And I think that's a great example of what's happening in the community. It's not that these are looked at as a really serious collector goal. However, people, when they find them and it has a key moment or a character that they really enjoy, they're willing to buy it because typically they're priced a lot less than that key appearance in America. But let's keep this conversation going, because I found out from Matthew that there's a lot more to this foreign collector community than meets the eye.
I noticed in our little document that we type notes on for these podcasts, I noticed you had like a quote from him.
I did. I thought this was really good. He said this, Matthew Roybal: there's hundreds, if not thousands, of foreign comic collectors. They just don't know it yet. And that really sunk in, because I've been buying foreign comics since I was little. Like, I'd find a cool book and I'm like, oh, it's super cheap. Sure. Jeff did it the other week. Oh yeah, First Lobo in another country. Why not? It's affordable. It's cool looking. It's different. It's a little oversized.
Dad's been picking up a lot of Spanish comics.
He has.
Yeah.
So like low key, people have been starting to get into foreign comic collecting. But I wanted to hear from Matthew, like specifically, what got him into this? Because it's one thing to just go from, casual, I'll pick it up if I find it, to I'm hunting for foreign comics. He showed me some of his collection, and it's like foreign comic after foreign comic of stuff I've never seen. And he's like, here's from Japan. This is from Greece. This one's from, South Africa, South America. Here's from Brazil. Like, there's so many from the Philippines. And I'm just like, I'm trying to understand, like, there's so much passion behind this collecting, and I appreciate it, but I'm trying to figure out, how do I communicate this to the community? So he dished. He explained it to me, and what I found out was fascinating.
So there's a couple cool terms that you kind of explained to me a little bit before we started here. And the honestly, the easiest one for me to understand to start with is the term sets.
Foreign sets.
Right. So say, for example, you have a whole bunch of different versions of Spawn #1.
Right.
But you have them in a bunch of different languages.
That's right.
But they're all Spawn #1.
That's
you
right.
have one in Italian, one in German, one in French, one in Spanish.
And Matthew Roybal happens to have, and apparently he's claiming to be the second person to do this, a complete Spawn 1 set.
Set. Yes, you don't want to say run.
No.
Right, because that implies, multiple different comics in sequence telling a story.
Now, that may not seem pretty big to you, but I want to show you this picture here. How gorgeous does this look?
It gets even cooler when you zoom in.
That's right.
You can see the image is the same, but the text is where things are going to change. The logo is in different colors on different pictures. There's different subtitles and text in different spots all over the cover, but it looks the same and it looks different also, depending on which one you're looking at. It's pretty cool.
Some of these are different sizes too. And he also mentioned too that there is even a little bit of a split in the community of what they would define a set, because for him, he includes not just the various covers and from like different countries of where these come from, he also includes the interiors. And there are foreign comics that have the interior of a comic book, but a different cover advertised. So if there's a Spawn that includes Spawn, like if there's Spawn 1 in a comic book that's foreign, that's inside a magazine, kind of like the Playboy Spider-Man one, would you count that one? Because Spawn 1 isn't on the cover. Well, he does, because that counts. In that country, that's how they produce Spawn. But some collectors only go after the cover appearance. He's a completionist, and that got me excited because I'm seeing correlations here, you know, between completionists in America who are searching for an entire run or every key appearance, real first appearances. So then he showed me this picture of his Star Wars set, and that hit home. I'm like, oh my goodness, look at these books. They're all dated from around the time that this was produced. You know, the original Star Wars comic book, but all over the world. So we're talking sets then. So then I made a mistake. And I said that, man, you know, this is cool. You know, this is like a variant. Like people in the community right now, they go out of their way to buy a 1 in 10 and 1 in 25 because of scarcity, rarity. It's like a variant of a comic. And then he corrected me.
Uh-oh.
He said, we actually moved away from calling these variants because back in the day, again, the history of this is pretty deep because they've been doing this. The foreign comic collector has been strong like as a community for over a decade. And I'll get into how crazy it gets here in a second. But he said that they moved away from calling them variants after they kind of got slack on the CGC forums. And they're like, these aren't variants, because variants are typically considered something that like came out soon after the fact, you know, either at the same time or a relatively recent amount of time. Some of these came out soon after, some of these came out years after. So he said that they've adapted the term from the book collector market, editions.
So like the Italian edition of Spawn #1.
Exactly.
Okay.
So these aren't just reprints. Some of these, and these terms matter because there's a reason why no one cares about foreign comics right now, at least the majority of people.
It makes sense because I think if you said the Italian variant of Spawn #1, for me, in my mind, that means like the cover is in Italian, but the inside is the exact same as the normal, you know, the American one that we've had.
Or if you say reprint, you think of a facsimile or a image first kind of thing. You know, it's just it's just reading material. But these things matter. Why do they matter? Well, because of the next reason why he explained why it's like so intriguing and kind of a obsessive thing to collect. Like these guys are serious about this. It's because of the scarcity and the history that these comic books have. So when you dive into it, he told me of a couple different terms that the foreign comic collector community has kind of coined. The first one he talked about was local indigenous bias. We're talking about scarcity. You got to talk about why they're scarce. We know about why American comics are scarce, but kind of and you kind of dive into it, we're not really talking so much about silver, bronze, and modern because, like, honestly, if you want to get a Spider-Man 300 or something in any grade, you can find it. You know, so yeah, it's scarce to get it in high grade, like 9.8, right? Really hard. You're going to pay a lot of money for it, but you can find it. Yeah. So it's almost like we need a different term for this when we're talking about American comics. Basically, Silver Age and New. When you go gold, we know why those ones are harder and harder to find. But foreign comics, can you explain to us what local indigenous bias is? Because we have some phrases that kind of sum up how foreign comics became so scarce.
Yeah, this was another one that was new to me because apparently people in other places where there are translated versions of these comics that come out, sometimes they are more partial to the American versions of the comics instead of the ones that have been produced in their own language that they can read naturally.
So, for example, he used Spawn in the Philippines. He said specifically that in the Philippines, when Spawn came out, there was a focus on the American Spawn comic. That's what they wanted to collect. And although the Philippines produced Spawn comic books in mass, and they could have gotten them at that time, they wanted to collect the American version. So a lot of what happened is people read the comic in their own language. They didn't care to really take care of the book. Probably didn't bag and board a lot of them, and a lot of them didn't really get into collections. So in that particular case, rarity ended up being the book that they didn't think would be valuable long-term.
That's never good.
It's never good. And what you also have is the flip side of this happening in reverse. He gave an example about South Africa, about how in early days when they were trying to uncover foreign comic books, keep in mind, comic fam, a lot of these covers that you can find on the internet right now, they're difficult to find as is. Like, it's not easy to find catalogs. You don't have the Gerber Journal of Foreign Comics where you just have everything listed. You can find a lot on the internet, but we're talking a decade ago, 5 years ago, where a lot of this stuff wasn't happening. So how did you get this information? You literally had to go on websites that were in a different language to try and find information from comic books that you didn't know existed. And he told me the way that they did this was offering a financial incentive to individuals in their particular country and said, hey, if you can find this cover in your language, I'll give you $30 just for the picture. Help me find it. Because
just for a picture of it, not even the comic itself?
Oh, just for the picture. Because for one, they don't know if it exists and it's in Greek, and good luck finding something if you don't read Greek. You know, if you're going on Greek forums on the internet looking for Greek comic collectors.
They say Google Translate works, but Google Translate doesn't work.
Well, and he said that they were using Google Translate a lot of the time to figure this stuff out. So
every time I've tried that, it never works.
So in response to the question about the opposite happening from the local indigenous bias, he said this happened on the flip side as well, specifically in South Africa when they were looking for certain books down there. They were told by collectors like, oh no, we don't have these out here. They're gone. They're gone. And then he would hear from other collectors, no. They're here, they're collected, and they're protected. They don't want them to leave the country. There are pockets, there are certain countries of collectors that are like, they take pride in their foreign comic, so they hunt them down and they try not to let them leave the country.
Like just lock them up in a vault?
Basically.
Right.
So it goes deep. And I find it fascinating because each of these different countries that produce these comics have their own stories.
Right.
Yeah. And some of these stories are honestly more interesting than some of the comic books that we collect for grade alone. And I'll just leave you with this, comic fam. He mentioned Brazil. Okay. And shout out Matthew Robert. Thank you so much for chatting with us and giving us this information. I'm excited. If the community wants to hear more about foreign comics, I'm interested.
Me too.
I'm interested in having more conversations with him. If you have a question, a comment, put them in the description, in the comment section below, and we'll bring this up to Matthew. He'll probably dish more about this. But he mentioned Brazil. He's like, Brazil's a freaking rainforest, man. And he said that he looked up information online. He was able to uncover that as much as 10 to 15% of the Brazilian population in the 70s had air conditioning.
So nobody had air conditioning.
Basically, no one had air conditioning in an incredibly humid area with comic books that were hyper scarce. And there is tin in the staples of those particular comic books. So you're talking rust, you're talking water damage, you're talking about something that people looked at as garbage basically back then. Like, this is for kids, just buy it on the stand. Just like here in America where people didn't really respect the collectability and the investment of these comics because they didn't think they would be worth very much back then. Well, think about that. We're talking one country that experienced all of these types of things that create this scarcity and this collectible. I think it's incredibly intriguing.
Yeah, this feels like just the surface of the potential here is pretty astonishing. Like the amount of stories that could possibly be told in foreign comics.
We'll have to get into it, and I look forward to doing it with the community. All right, let's jump into the next subject of the show. We got a teaser for Into the Spider-Verse 2.
This is the teasiest tease that has ever been teased.
Ryan is titillated.
I am, extremely.
What did we see? Because we saw so much, Ryan.
Actually, that's kind of true. There was a lot crammed into this.
For a 10-second clip?
Yeah, the smallest little clip you've ever seen.
There was a lot of information potentially provided. What did we see?
A bunch of different logos.
Spider-Man logos.
Am I wrong? I feel like it was a bunch of recreations of that graffiti Spider-Man logo that Miles made in the first movie.
Yes.
Yeah, that was on his uniform that he made.
Absolutely right.
So these are different versions of it.
And we know
that's all that was in the clip. It was all just a bunch of flashes of different logos.
Right.
No dialogue. There was barely any music in the background. No words really, other than, was there a release date?
No release date that I saw.
There was a release date.
No, and it's just quick. You have to slow it down. You have to go frame by frame to.
That's where the fun is, though.
It really is. So let's actually talk about some of the ones that are being spec'd on, because we have a handful of Spider-Man logos that look different, which are then getting people to try to figure out, okay, who are we going to see in the next movie?
Right, because the whole premise of this story was the Spider-Man from different comic book universes, they're all like joining forces in these movies. So
Exactly.
it's only natural to expect that the sequel is going to bring in more spider things, spider characters, spider people from various Spider-Verses. Who might they be?
All right. So the first one that people are specking on is this blue-looking Spider-Man logo.
Yeah.
And we also have the first appearance of that character right here, featured in Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man. It's a free comic book day from 2007 that we're going to be giving away here. First appearance of Mr. Negative.
Those free comic books actually ended up being worth something sometimes.
Yeah, this is actually worth more than the Amazing Spider-Man first appearance, which is kind of
crazy.
interesting.
Yeah.
So comment down below. Let us know what you think about anything on the show. It enters you to win a book. And we're doing another giveaway later on in the show as well. But Mr. Negative.
Mr. Negative.
Why Mr. Negative? He was in the game.
He was just in that Spider-Man game from last year that I actually still haven't beaten. it was all over my radar last year, and I never finished it. But yeah, Mr. Negative was all over that game. It kind of raised his profile significantly. I noticed him pop up a couple of times in the Amazing Spider-Man comic since then, which I don't think was happening that much before the video game. I didn't even know who Mr. Negative was until then. He seems to be pretty recent, though, 2007 being his first appearance.
That's right. And, the blue on the Spidey logo, it's given people enough to go on to start picking this up. But keep in mind, this is a book that people have been spiking, or that has been on spec radar for probably over a year now, mostly because of the game, but also because we know that Spider-Verse is introducing a lot more characters. Now, the next one here, I think is pretty cool. It could be, obviously, who knows? Any of this. This could all just be nothing.
This is all pure speculation.
They could have just been like, oh, these are cool logos.
Let's just flip the color scheme around and mess with people's minds.
All right, but
That
this
would be
next
funny.
one. The next one is it's kind of a yellow and red Spider-Man logo.
Yeah.
And the first thing that was thought of was Leopardon.
Marveler?
Yeah.
Right? The Spider-Man from Japan?
That's right. The one that would be kind of more similar to a Power Rangers character.
Yes.
We have Spider-Man who's got the wristband that controls this mecha suit.
He's so cool.
He's actually really cool.
We watched a little bit of this show.
I wasn't
before
as
we
familiar.
recorded. Neither was I. I was vaguely aware.
Freaking cool, dude.
He's so awesome.
Marveler, change Leopardon.
I want to find like a DVD set of this or something. Like
We'll show a couple clips, but it's as crazy as you would expect. Miniatures flying through the air, and
it literally looks like Power Rangers.
it's Spider-Man Power Rangers, and I
Yes.
love Power Rangers. Shout out, Boom!
Right.
Heck yeah, it's so dope. But this character, Leopardon, he actually made his first appearance in ASM issue number 12.
Which is pretty modern.
Yeah, a more modern
His first
book.
appearance in comics was in the past 10 years, less than 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So it was clearly like a reference to the old Japanese show that people found awesome.
Now you think this may be a stretch, right? This is a really deep cut character.
We're getting all this from Red and Yellow.
Yeah, but if you look at the Easter egg that was in Into the Spider-Verse, Miles Morales, he's drawn.
There was a
something.
drawing of some kind of mech looking machine.
Right?
You know?
That's an Easter egg for that character. It has to be.
Yeah.
They don't go out of their way to do something like that. So maybe this is leading to that. We don't know. But who's another character that may be yellow and red?
Another character that I think might be more of a sure thing for this movie, at least more of a possibility than the Japanese Spider-Man, Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew.
Correct.
She has a red and yellow costume.
And we actually had word back in December. This was done by released by Gizmodo, but they had Amy Pascal totally drop that they are planning on a Silk, Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew, and a Spider-Gwen, Gwen Stacy spin-off, but also a team up of these characters. And that was back in December.
Interesting.
So that gives credibility to this spec that this actually may be Spider-Woman.
She's definitely on their radar, it sounds like.
And a book that has been on spec radar over this last year because of that was Spider-Woman Alpha, which is the first team up of these characters. Now, we just mentioned Cindy Moon, something that I haven't seen tweeted. This was brought to my attention from Nick over at Key Collector. If you go through frame by frame, there is a Spider-Man logo with a crescent moon above it. And if you got to pause it just right to see it, and we'll show it to you, comic fan, but there is a crescent moon above that logo.
It's definitely a moon.
Cindy Moon, maybe?
Maybe.
I'm thinking maybe. So, all right. So there is some characters here that may or may not be in the upcoming movie, but let's just look at the impact Spider-Verse had on the collector's market. People are buying Spidey ham, all right? Like crazy.
That movie won an Oscar. That was a big deal.
Big deal.
Yeah.
All right. So who knows what this is going to lead to and how this will affect the collector's market. You know we'll be covering it when it does.
Thank you, Bendis, for making Miles Morales.
Oh, thank you to the comic fan for commenting on our videos.
You too. You guys are pretty cool too.
So I had asked a request of the comic fam to go to my Instagram and comment in the post show because I posted a really cool Hellboy memorabilia, the first published Hellboy card, right?
Yeah.
So I posted it on Instagram and we actually had some people comment on it. So let's read that comment.
Let's do it.
This Hellboy card is said to be produced prior to any of the comic book appearances. And I posted it over on Instagram and we had Dark Jedi OFFC say, Comic Tom, what is that card exactly called if someone wanted to find one? This card is called a 1993 Fedonia Funnyworks card, and it was part of a set. And again, from 1982 to 1992, it was like a celebration set, said to only be 1,100 made.
Ouch. That's a very small number.
Very small number. Then I had another comment from the Police comics that I shared. I had a really OG Plastic Man comic that I went into and we discussed what collection it came from. Tailored Geek said, love the story of the guy who collected this comic. Awesome to buy a comic when you know it has a story behind the collector. And that kind of just like struck home for me. I think that's a thing. That's a thing for me for sure. When I know that there's a little bit more of a history to the comic, it may actually mean more to me than the comic itself, the scarcity itself, or whoever is on the cover.
It adds an extra layer.
It really does.
It gets you like into the mind of the person who held it before you and the person who owned it before you. And now you start thinking about like the history of it and where all the places this book has been. And I know Jeff has brought that up a lot about like Golden Age and how that's a specific part of it that interests him is thinking about the history of the book itself.
Like till it gets into your hands.
I remember he was talking about that when he damaged a comic and ruined it and his comic survived all this time and only to be killed by Jeff.
Right?
Yeah. And like that's all part of the history. And that's a whole nother layer of fascination.
Yeah. Comic fan, do you have any like random like pieces of your collection that to the average collector may not be worth much or be super exciting that to you just hold dear, you would never sell? I want to hear about it.
I had a comment also I pulled this one from the YouTube video. It was the last one I was in 2 weeks ago now. This is from Wakandan Knight. Thanks for the vid info, you guys. Love how y'all constantly change the comics on the talk table. Always look forward to see what's next. This was a little idea I had just to show off my pulls. My
these are
weekly
your
pulls,
pulls, Ryan.
Right.
Like, these are what you're reading.
Correct. And we used to like do a segment about this a while ago. It was weird. It was very rushed. And this is a little more subtle. I like it. I like doing it that way.
Yeah, we have more segments that we're going to be kind of introducing into the show, so you can kind of grow to expect certain things from us. And one thing is to kind of have the community keep up to date with us on what we're reading, but there's so many comics, and to be like, oh, I'm going to tell you the next issue of this run every single week, I think that would get kind of boring, and we're spoiling it at that point.
Sure.
So I feel like we should try to do something unique to bring to the table, but it's coming soon, Comic Fam. But I like that you're showing the
For now,
community.
these are the comics I got every week.
Yeah, you're just kind of switching them out through the show.
Why not?
Yeah, some eye candy. I like it. All right, let's move on to the next topic here because I'm super stoked about this, man. I haven't been excited about a comic book like this in quite some time.
What you got?
Constantine Black Label. I said it on the mic like within the last month.
Yep.
Why isn't Constantine have his own Black Label run? What is DC doing?
And like a magician, the words you spoke just became reality.
It's like he did a spell or something.
Right? I didn't even plan it to come out that way, but magic and Constantine jokes are pretty good.
Okay, so first off, I am so stoked about this, and there are pages being released.
There's a lot of pages.
Yeah, it's actually a good amount.
It was like almost the whole comic, it felt like.
There's like a good 7 or so pages.
Yeah.
So we'll show a couple of them, but Ryan, let's just describe it for the audio community here. Like, what do we got coming? Because this right here this is exactly what I want, man. I want just basic, take it to like the grassroots of Constantine. Just what do we got? What do we got?
I actually, don't hate me for this, I have only read one Constantine story.
Right.
You know what it is.
Yeah, Dangerous Habits. We did a whole breakdown of the series. It's one of my favorite comic books of all time.
Yes. This current comic that's about to come out, is very reminiscent of that. The art, in particular, really feels similar to Dangerous Habits, which is a very big compliment. That comic was very washed out and gross looking and just yellow and sickly, which is appropriate because that comic was about Constantine dealing with lung cancer. And so they've kind of adopted similar color work for this comic, it seems like. There's a lot of... The yellow really jumps out at you. The lighting. I'm digging it. I don't really even notice coloring that much in comics, but it jumped out at me immediately in these pages.
Jordi Belair, the color work on this, the colorist, it's outstanding. It reminds me of what they did with Batman Damned a bit. You just can tell there's just a style that just meshes so well. Aaron Campbell.
Artist.
It's so exciting, man. I'm so pumped for this. The visuals are dark, which is what you want. It's moody, which is what you want. It's serious, which is what you want. I'm not even going to read the solicitation because there's an F-bomb in it, and I don't want to. It doesn't even matter. But like,
that's appropriate though.
But it's appropriate because because it's Constantine. He's smoking in a panel, like
cool.
straight, so he's full on Constantine, and the writer's like, he's dealing with an evil crack dealing F-head.
Right? There's some kind of street gang that Constantine runs against, or like there's something happening in London with like demons and Constantine stuff.
It's back to the roots, man. He's going to London. He's got no friends and family because there's none left, because anyone he associates with pretty much dies. And he's got to deal with some supernatural activity, and it's not going to go as planned. And you know what? That's like the basis for most Constantine stories right there.
Where the fun is.
That's like the most of the plots, and that's what you need. That's all you need. Tell us a great story. Black Label is the new Vertigo. You had mentioned that too. You're like, why are they even calling this Black Label anymore? Like, this is Vertigo. Like, why'd they get rid of Vertigo? I think this is literally just a rebranding. This is Vertigo.
Yeah, I could see that. I'm okay with it, I guess, in the long run. As long as they keep putting out like Batman Damned quality books, then I'm good with it.
I know I'm picking this up, and I really hope they do like an oversized version of it. I want some really cool Constantine memorabilia. And I would keep an eye out for this particular book because Constantine, there's a good fan base for it that are going to pick this up. But I feel like this may go under some people's radar.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just looking at what happened with Batman Damned and how like condition sensitive those books. I'm not saying this is going to spike like $150 like that book did at one point. But if you can pick it up, I think it's going to be a good story. The art is already proving to be impressive. And it's Constantine, and I don't see a lot of people putting this on their pull list. So it's got all of the markers for something that could be really successful and missed. So
I have tried to pick up as many of the new Black Label books that I can, and I have been pretty consistently impressed all throughout. And yes, I'm probably going to actually look into picking up Constantine, which is I don't know. Should I jump in on this one? I feel like I should read more older stuff with Constantine first before I pick up an ongoing.
I feel like this is going to be a good place to start out.
It seems like a nice back to basics kind of down to your roots story.
You don't have like, Papa Midnight's back to do this, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You don't have like...
It's a new villain, it says.
Yeah, new villain and a new situation. So I think this may be a good place to start up. And the fact that it's mature and Black Label, like that's going to be a good way for the more adult fans to like feel like they're being served here.
Word.
All right, now we got to talk about this run right here. Dude, put that comic up, man.
Oh.
Just put that freaking masterpiece right up where everyone can see it. Silver Surfer Black, Dani Cates, Sir Cates, Tradmore. What masterpiece.
How many people actually are reading this or read this? Because
let us know.
This comic was really, really good.
Go get it. If you haven't read it, go get it. Go read it. Go read it
just
again.
5 issues.
5 issues, and it's pristine, dude. This is it deserves way more credit than it's getting right now. These are some of the lower prints, and as the later comics come out, they were ordered less. I think the art turned a lot of people off, unfortunately.
That's insane, yeah, because that art blew my mind.
Dude,
literally.
More than blew my mind. I could have read probably 3, maybe 4 standard comic books in the time that I took to read that one book right there.
Yes.
And there's not very much text.
No, there's
what?
not.
All right, remind the community our experience with Sir Cates at Emerald City before all of this happened.
Right. We were at Emerald City in March? April? Early spring.
Basically April, beginning like April 1st or something, right around that time.
And if this is issue 5, then that means 5 months ago, Silver Surfer started. Surfer Black started. So we talked to Dani Cates probably like a month or 2 before.
Yep.
Before this run started, and he was talking to us about Absolute Carnage. He wasn't even talking about that. He was being real secretive.
He's like, "Oh, look at my shirt. It's Absolute Carnage. Like, this is coming
stuff.
up." But this is the thing though. He was like, "Yeah, you think this is? I don't want to talk about this though."
Yeah. Here, check out this art on my phone. I have
phone.
He pulled out his phone and showed us some black and white like sketches that Tradmore had. It wasn't even sketches. It was uncolored. It was pencils.
And that's important.
The first issue,
dude. How would you even describe what he showed us?
If you've looked at this comic at all, if you have any familiarity with the way that Tradmore draws, it's very loose and very round. Like there's lots of just circled shapes and without colors in the comic to help you define and delineate what is what. It's all just a bunch of loopy, weird shapes. It's extremely hard to tell what you're looking at without color. And he showed us his phone, and I was like taken aback. I was like, I don't even know what it is I'm looking at, but I like this.
That's what he says. Like, it's gonna blow your mind, dude. It's
He
gonna
told
blow
us.
your effing mind.
Yep.
He kept saying it. He's like, this is it, dude. You're gonna love this.
And of course, at that time, we were neck deep in the Infinity Gauntlet crossover, and I was just like, I just really wanted to nerd out with Dani Cates about our stuff. But
So if you haven't watched that video, he actually goes out and nerds out about Carnage Mind Bomb because I gifted my copy to him. So you should check out that video as well. But this issue number 5.
It is
Can't even
very
talk.
fine.
It's so fine. I'm gonna keep going. I don't even care. This issue is freaking perfection, dude. This is what comics are about for me. It's art. It is poetry.
I was literally getting feelings while I was reading this, like deep emotional feelings, which doesn't happen very much for me. I'm an unfeeling cold man.
Yeah, you're very cold. You like to be depressed. No, this book right here is about the opposite. It's about overcoming burdens. It's about overcoming the darkness, the negativity, the shame, the parts of life that we all experience every day, like being a human being. And this dude isn't even human.
Yep.
What?
That's why it's perfect.
Oh, man, it's so good. It's like Picasso, dude.
I had no exposure to Silver Surfer as a character before our Gauntlet coverage that we did last year.
Yeah, let's get into that because we went through the entirety
Yes.
of the Infinity Gauntlet. If you haven't watched that, we just talked about a breakdown video we made, a series about dangerous habits. We did a whole breakdown series about Infinity Gauntlet. Every single issue, we sat here and geeked out.
Yeah, in
So
retrospect,
you can
we
check
should
that
have
out.
picked something smaller, I feel like.
It took
because
over
it was
a year.
50 plus videos that we did.
It's a long time, dude.
Every single tie-in and crossover issue. We learned a lot about Silver Surfer. And all of his struggles or most of his struggles are mental. He's got a lot of baggage about the fact that he's been traveling with Galactus all this time and like dooming all of these planets that Galactus has eaten and consumed. And that kind of regret and guilt is kind of at the core of his character here in Silver Surfer Black. And at the end of the 5th issue, of the final issue of Silver Surfer Black, are we spoiling this? Is that
No,
what's happening?
this is out for a couple weeks.
It's been out for a few weeks
Yeah,
now.
so spoiler warning.
Spoiler
But
warning.
I have by the way, I'm going to insert this right here real quick.
Okay.
Spoilers are really difficult because we talk about a lot of comic book collecting, and when people buy comics, we talk about them, but typically they buy them when they're hot and they're brand new. I feel like if it's after the weekend,
Yeah.
we're working on the next issues and they're coming out, so you should have read it by now. So it's been over a week. So you should not only have read this, you should have bought it too. Should have been on your shelf.
Agreed.
Anyways.
This story ends basically with Silver Surfer. We can't tell you how it ends without telling you how it starts. I guess we didn't do that.
Do it.
He goes through like a black hole at the start of this miniseries. It's related to the Guardians of the Galaxy series that Dani Cates is also writing. Silver Surfer ends up in a black hole and it sends him back in time. And he runs into Null, actually, which is another character that Dani Cates is all over. And they get into a fight over the course of these 5 issues. And it ends with Silver Surfer sacrificing himself to kind of rebirth his home planet of Zenlaw, which got destroyed by Galactus. And in doing so, that planet, it reconstitutes. He not even reconstitutes. That is the birth of the planet. Like Silver Surfer I don't want to say gave birth to a planet because that's a mental image I don't want. There you go. You're welcome. You're welcome, Internet. Silver Surfer created the planet of Zenlaw in the first place in the past before he was ever born on it, which is so trippy and cool.
But he doesn't just create his birth planet,
No.
because that planet goes on to create all.
Right. So Silver Surfer ends up being kind of like the grandfather of the entire universe.
The Marvel universe.
Yeah.
So first off, if you're not getting the art, you got to remind yourself they're in a different dimension.
It's supposed to look weird.
It's like Doctor Strange weird,
Yes.
right? When you're in different dimensions and you're going through time and you're all these things, it looks different. Well, first off, this is perfect. There is no better artist for this comic book.
Nope.
So, boom, perfect. Okay, this whole story is about Silver Surfer, Norrin Radd, figuring out that he has to look within himself to resolve the problem. And the problem is that he's not strong enough to overcome the dark. He cannot beat Null. He will not beat Null. Null is alive in the future. So there's got to be a different way to go about resolving the situation. He's got to look within himself. He's got to fight that darkness. He's got to fight his pride and his frustrations and his guilt of all the death and struggle that he himself has actually caused, and rebirth.
One of the more important lessons here, too, is he learns throughout these 5 issues that sometimes you can't win. Like, there's no beating the darkness, I guess. There's some foes will always be there, and you have no ability to destroy or defeat them, so you have to learn to bring, like, balance.
To overcome.
Yes.
And, that darkness, it's not necessarily external. I mean, Silver Surfer deals with internal darkness. So this is something that we can relate to a bit. Because, you know, there's good and there's bad in life. And in this comic book, he discovers and wants to really show the reader here, you know, us as the fans, that regardless of how dark things are, if there is a little bit of light, if there is a little bit of positivity that you can look at to potentially overcome, you have to reach within, you have to hold on to that for your dear life. And if you're going to do anything with it, you give that to someone else. Whoa.
Yeah, that was my favorite page in this whole run. I thought that was a very nice thesis statement for the whole series.
Right? And then he ends with a tribute to Stan Lee because, like, why not? Why not? And let's actually just read it verbatim, because this is a shout out to 1989, the Silver Surfer. It's a 2-parter issue series, issue number 2.
It's actually written by Stan Lee too, which is
and it was written by Stan
awesome.
Lee. So let's just read what this says here.
If we turn from battle because there is little hope of victory, where then would valor be? Beautiful.
That's right. In response to, like, having to go up against something where the odds are so much against you, you just have to go for it.
Yep.
Man.
And that's the whole point of, like, courage and honor and all that stuff.
For Stan. Well done. This is my favorite book of the year so far.
Nice
This is
tribute,
cool.
Dani.
Nice tribute. Oh, and by the way, if I didn't mention it already, we are giving this away. Comment down below. Let us know what you think about Silver Surfer Black. Did you pick it up? And we will enter you to win this comic.
If you didn't, you should just grab the trade when it comes out, because that's going to be a nice, solid, like, 5 issues, standalone little trade. That's the one to get.
All right, Watchman.
Watchman.
You sent me a website link.
Yes.
Didn't know what was going on.
Me neither.
I am so stoked right now, dude.
Me too.
Just blow people's minds right now. Go.
I'm going to try my hardest to blow all of your minds. But, okay, I hate to do this. Actually, I hate/don't hate at all to do this, but Lost.
It's a good, okay, now this is an appropriate, this is one of the few times where I would say, you know what, this all reminds me of Lost, like, hardcore.
Thank
dude.
you.
This
Okay.
does. It does, man. I remember when Lost was big and there were freaking commercials playing through, like, other shows in primetime television.
Fake commercials.
Fake commercials about the Dharma Initiative that you can join. Websites about fake Dharma this and that.
It was a whole game that you played online that was happening in real time. It was insanely awesome, and it was really original, and I kind of always wanted more stuff like that to happen.
Yeah, we're getting that
Since
right
Lost,
now.
We're getting a little bit of that with Lost, with Watchmen. Mostly because it's the same genius behind the scenes. Genius might be an overstatement. I don't know. If you're watching this, Damon, I apologize. You're probably a genius. But thank you for making both of these websites, all of this stuff. I'm digging it.
All right.
Anyway, it's a fake website that takes place in the universe of the Watchmen TV show.
Name of the site is?
It is called PTpedia.
Okay.
Which is a big mystery for me. Like, well, that's weird. What is that a guy's name? PT? Like Peter, but with Petey, like a little kid? PTpedia.
All right.
In the 3rd episode of Watchmen, you actually figure out that yes, you're introduced to the character of Petey, who is like a kind of underling at the FBI, who everybody laughs at and kind of ridicules.
You go to this website and there are a few links. We're only going to touch base on the first link because that provides background to episode 1. And Ryan, please explain some cool things on this.
Every week they've been adding new, like, chapters to this. So after each episode, there's a new, like, segment on this website. So each week there's new parts for each episode. And the first batch came out, I believe it was right before the show even started.
Yep. This is why it's important. You got to keep up on this kind of stuff.
This website's really cool.
Yeah, they're providing information about what happened in between the book Watchmen and the show.
Because after the comic ended, there was like 30 years in between the comic and the start of the show. And this guy, Petey, this character in the show, is a disgruntled FBI agent who nobody takes seriously. So he has been uploading all of these documents to this, like, low-key website that he's running in the basement office of the FBI that he works out of. And One of them was this big memo that he wrote about Rorschach's journal that was dropped off at the newspaper at the end of the comic.
Oh, dude.
And he's kind of digging into it and analyzing it and explaining how it's bad and how certain groups that are in the TV show that are not very friendly, who have kind of taken a liking to Rorschach, how they are using this journal as like a manifesto. And there's in the background, almost in the way he's writing, there's little nuggets that are dropped that you can just glance over, that if you're not paying attention will go right by you. The most important one, the biggest one that I found, was a reference to Fredric Wertham.
That's right. Oh, we're talking about Wertham spectrum. What is the Wertham spectrum, man?
They don't even explain it in this. They don't explain it because in the world of Watchmen, the TV show, this Wertham spectrum is a thing that has existed for 30 years that everyone is familiar with. So they don't explain it. You have to pick it up while reading this website.
Fredric Wertham, if you don't know this name, he was the doctor that caused the seduction of the innocents in American history. You know, really bringing together the government, the schools, and the religious sectors to all rile together to be against comic books. And that caused a huge decline in the economy of comics. It created the code, and it's looked at as one of the main reasons why comics almost disappeared entirely from Americana. And they're calling this spectrum the Wertham spectrum in Watchmen.
It's apparently a tool that psychologists or psychiatrists, I'm never able to tell which one's which, but people who are diagnosing people's mental states, and they have diagnosed different superheroes on the Wertham spectrum. So there's they have described Ozymandias, for example, as a savior / narcissist. Okay, makes sense. Those kind of, I would say those apply to him. Rorschach himself was described as an objectivist / sociopath. So there's a bunch of different ways to categorize various masked adventurers in this universe.
What else did they describe?
There was an intriguing little line. You remember the squids, the raining
Yes.
squids? We showed a little clip of it last time.
Mm-hmm.
There was a theory that people had watching the show that maybe the squids were kind of controlled. Like this rain of squids was a way that the government was using to keep people's spirits down and make them think that another giant squid could fall on them at any moment. But if you find out through a little throwaway line on this article about Rorschach's journal here that nobody knows what's going on with these giant squids, that nobody in the government knows what's going on. Ooh. And that it's actually a real mystery, that it's not some kind of conspiracy that people are hiding.
See, if you didn't read this, you would still be going off of these ideas that are already in print.
You also find out in this text that Night Owl has been in prison since 1995.
Oh, and he's still alive.
He's still alive. They got away at the end of the comic book. He managed to get back into normal life, but he got back into superheroing in between the 80s and 95.
Dude, can you imagine?
Got arrested.
If we get a background,
some kind of prequel series
to this?
Before Watchmen?
Oh, man.
That already exists.
Oh, man, it'd be so cool.
Anyway, there's a lot of information on this website. It's being updated every week. It's a really cool way to kind of peel back the layers and experience the world of this Watchmen series, which is a weird mix of our own world today, but also the comic that we've all been reading for 40 years now, 30 years.
If you don't get on this show and be on HBO, you're going to regret it.
It's only out for 9 episodes. So the 4th one just came out. It's already almost halfway done. You should get on it. You should watch this. I'm really enjoying it. If you have the patience for a mystery show,
that's right,
then yeah, give it a shot because it's a fun ride.
All right, so now we got to talk about some fraud. What? Fraud?
Fraud.
All right, what's going on? Well, Captain Shipwreck, this is my homie, my fellow Hellboy enthusiast and collector who got that freaking gorgeous Salt Lake City Comic-Con pamphlet, first appearance of Hellboy. Oh, man, I'm so jelly, man. I look at that
not jealous at all. Look at him.
All right, well, he got it, and he's excited about it. It's the real thing. He paid $5,000 for it.
What do you mean it's the real thing?
Oh,
why wouldn't it be?
That's a good point. That's what we're going to talk about right now. He found something really interesting. So one of the ways, if you're looking for something super scarce and you can't find it, you got to go hunting on the internet. Now, eBay only saves the past 3 months of sales and the record of items that have hit eBay and left, right? So 3 months. So what happens if you want to look at what sold in 2015, 2016, 2007? How do you go back far enough to uncover things? Well, there are websites that do that keep track of these logs, which means that you have different paths to hunt down. You have to go through different sites and go searching. And if you're looking for something hyper scarce, well, you're going to look through those things, right? You're going to go down whatever path you got to find. The foreign comic market, they go to freaking Greece, and they try to use
They have
Google
to go
Translate.
there sometimes.
Yeah,
Like,
to get the history, to figure out what's going on. Well, in this particular example, he reached out to me this week and he found a post from 2014 of a seller selling Hellboy memorabilia. And this is what's interesting. The picture that we're going to show right now is of all the Hellboy memorabilia that we've been discussing. You got Next Men. You got Celebrate Diversity, another Hellboy comic that's super rare. You got the Hellboy poster that we talked about in the after show. You got Salt Lake City Comic-Con, the pamphlet sitting there. But wait a minute, that pamphlet doesn't look right. And this is something that was brought to my attention this past week. This pamphlet was sold in a batch in 2014, and it is smaller than all of the rest of the books in this picture.
Uh-oh.
And we know that Captain Shipwreck has his pamphlet, and we know that that's a legit pamphlet. I've seen the pictures. This pamphlet is oversized. It's slightly bigger than a standard comic. And as you can see in these pictures, this is what it's supposed to look like. But in 2014, we have a smaller version being shown in a solicit for the selling of this listing. What that means is that we have either one of two things happening, and I suspect the latter. The first thing is at Salt Lake City Comic-Con 1991, in this very small convention, where they were putting this pamphlet together really last minute, having Mignola draw a Hellboy prototype, like, hey, just give us a demon. We got to put this to print. We don't have a whole lot of money. We're going to put it on this like really cheap paper. It's 1991. Who's going to these conventions? There's not a whole lot of people. Either they made two different types, one larger than another one, like
Sounds
a pocket
right.
size.
Yeah.
Or
For travel reasons.
what would be the other reason?
I can't think of any other reason. That seems to be the only one that makes any sense. They must have made two different sizes.
Just handing them all out, right?
Yeah.
Or we have fraud,
Of course.
counterfeit.
That makes a lot more sense.
And I'm telling you right now, dude, as soon as that $5,000 sale hit, collectors across the country are looking. Like they're hunting. There's
That
a lot
also
of people.
makes sense.
There's a lot of people looking right now. So I want to bring this to the community's attention that we have two pictures here, and we have on good authority that one is real and the other does not look right. So when you're hunting for this prototype, first off, if you find it, hit me up because I want it. I want
Give
it.
it to Tom.
Give it to me. I need it. But we're still hunting for it, But other people are hunting for it. If you find smaller versions, if you find one that doesn't look like the one here that Captain Shipwreck has found and had the courtesy of showing the community. I mean, the guy doesn't even want to post pictures of the interior with the worry that more people may try to counterfeit this pamphlet,
Good point.
right? So if it doesn't look like this and it's not the size, you may be dealing with the fraud. And you know what? Just protect your money. This is the way that people make mistakes.
That's scary.
It is really scary, especially for something that's like $5,000, dude.
I'm glad I'm not
It's a
on that
freaking house
level.
payment, man. That's like it's a down payment on a house.
Nope. No thanks. I'm
So-
just going to stick to my moderns.
That's right. Stick
My
to your
ongoing
moderns.
weekly comics. No house payments. None of that level of stress.
Okay, well, I'll tell you one thing. There was a bit of stress that I felt after selling a comic book I shouldn't have sold, and we're going to continue this conversation in our post show. Thank you, comic book community, for joining us today. Hit the subscribe button. We cover comic books every week. We do a top 10 on Fridays. We have more videos coming out soon. Hit the like button and comment down below. We have a couple really cool giveaways that we're doing. And also use that code TOM101 over on Key Collector. The links are in the bio for both Android and iTunes. This application is going to help you get on your way if you're just new in this community and looking to start growing your collection and you want some guidance of, some cool books if you may not know of. Or if you're a seasoned collector and you're looking for some assistance on the hunt, this is going to be a useful tool and one that more and more people are utilizing and finding success with.
It's like half the price of a current comic book.
Yeah.
It's extremely affordable.
Well,
if you
use
don't
that-
feel like using the code for the free week, Tom101.
That's right. It's $2 a month or $20 for the year. It takes one comic, man. One comic in our community has
pays
just
for
paid
itself.
for the whole year.
It's a really good app. I'm being serious.
All right. Thanks, comic fan. We do appreciate you.
See you in the after show.
See you in the after show, and then let's announce some winners to the giveaway. Nuff said. Oso Polar 35 and Mark DeMiggs, you both won the giveaway from last podcast. You can also click over here and check out other videos we've put out.